Well, we're back in the old main panel on the back of the house today. Trying to work a plan to get power run to our shop. If they ever get it fixed. I gotta walk out there and see if they fixed it. Anyway, I thought when we put this panel in that it was a bigger panel than this. It looks like a huge panel, right? I thought I had more spaces available, but it turns out I really don't. We have, the way we've wired this house up, you guys can go way back and look, and maybe I explained it back then, but we have a 200 amp main service panel coming in, and then we have this 125 amp 240 that feeds out, and that powers this whole house, which is the guest house slash garage, whatever. There's space here. There's one other space that can be a 240 receptacle, and there's our 240 breaker, and there's one other space here that can be a single 120, or I guess you could say there's three 120s. Regardless, I need to have this thing organized such that someday, this is still a dream and a hope and a plan, someday when we build the main house, we'll have a 240 feed to that, 240 by 125, and for right now I've got to find a way to power the shop, which I was going to do at a 240 125. Well, that doesn't work because I have my 20 amp for my septic and my 30 amp for my air conditioner, and those can't be moved anywhere without setting a whole new panel. So what I'm planning on doing for now, I think I've got these two through lugs that'll be a full 200 amp through, and I've used it here for my main primary ground, but I'm going to move this copper cable. I'm going to move it over to this other side, to that main ground bus bar. That's where right now that's where my ground and my neutral come together. But it's okay, it's all on a common bar all the way across the top, so it doesn't really matter where you put it. Closer is better, but I mean, we're talking inches here, and then we're going to run 150 feet of wire over to the shop, so it's not going to matter. So I'm going to move that ground cable, which will open that lug up for a big primary neutral lug. And I'll tie into these two primary hot lugs. So we're going to run 200 amps straight through to the shop, and then we will set a sub panel in the shop that is will have a 200 amp breaker in it again. For the house, the way we did it was, since we have a 125 amp breaker out here, the sub panels in the house don't have a main breaker in them. You don't need it. This is effectively their main breaker, but I'm gonna have to buy a panel that has a 200 amp main breaker in it that I'll be able to put out in the shop, because that way when this one's on, the one in the shop will be on. So if we want to work in the shop and do wiring, we'll just kill that main breaker out there. It works either way. The panel's going to be a little bit more expensive to have that space for a main breaker on it. It'll probably be like an extra $50 just because of the cost of the breaker more than anything. But what that'll do is that'll reserve space still for this 240 by 125 slot that'll go for the future house someday. So I don't want to just slam this thing full for now. And then, of course, in the future, have to go and try to reset this whole panel. Like I said, I thought I had set it big enough. Honestly, this is the first time I've opened the panel in probably 2 years and looked at it, so I'd kind of forgot. But we got a plan. It's going to work. That's why I wanted to come out here today. I just had a few minutes. I wanted to come out here and look because I've been putting off burying the power to the shop just because I'm busy with other stuff, and I don't want to take on digging a ditch right now, out of all things. Been putting it off, but I had a few minutes. So I want to come just take a look and see what I ran into, and I'm happy I did, because I was telling myself that I had space for a 240 breaker, but really I don't, without setting in a little sub panel right here. So, but this will work. I was thinking I had through lugs, so I'm happy to see that I at least got that much right. The other issue is going to be the actual exits, the actual ports. I don't know why I knocked out all those knockouts when I installed the box, but I did, and then of course I'm not using them, so you just see insulation there. I've got a great big knockout here in the bottom, a 2-inch. That's going to go for those main lugs. That's going to go back to the shop. And then I've got a knockout here on the side, which I think can be a full 2-inch. And that's going to be where we'll have to run for the main house someday. But we are going to have to actually notch our stone. You guys maybe can't see up under there. There you go. You can see that plate is actually above the stone, so I'm going to have to get in here and actually chisel and notch out this faux stone and cut a groove all the way down for that pipe to sit in. So this pipe was here. This conduit was here when they put the stone up, and I told them, you know, tuck the stone up behind it. Well, obviously the other conduit wasn't there at the time. The idea of a shop was a twinkle in the eye anyway. So we'll have to do it. Hopefully I can just cut a notch and not have to knock all this stone off and then replace it. Anyway, that's our planning for today. Just figured I'd show you what I kind of ran into here that I wasn't thinking about. But it'll work and we'll recover and do just fine. So we'll show you whatever. I'll probably upload this as just a planning video, and then I'll make another video when we actually install the power.